My parents told everyone I died at birth because I was the ugly twin. My parents were supermodels, their entire lives were built on being seen, admired, envied. When my mom announced her pregnancy, it became a spectacle. Fans, brands, even strangers online couldn't stop talking about it. Everyone kept saying the same thing over and over again, that their child would be perfect. That with two people that beautiful, how could the baby be anything else? My mother loved the attention, she documented everything, photo shoots, interviews, videos of her growing stomach. People didn't just follow her anymore, they were invested, waiting, watching, expecting perfection. The delivery was easy, that's what I read later. No complications, no struggle, my sister came out first, blue eyes, blonde hair, smooth skin. She looked exactly like them, like something out of a magazine, like she had been designed to fit the life they had already planned. They fell in love with her instantly. The nurses passed her around, smiling, praising, already calling her beautiful. Cameras came out before she was even properly cleaned. My parents were glowing, laughing, holding her up like she was something to be shown off. Then I came out, dark hair, brown eyes, features that didn't match theirs, didn't fit the image. I wasn't what they had promised the world, I wasn't what they wanted, and just like that everything changed. There are no photos of me from that moment, no smiles, no excitement, just silence. By the time they left the hospital, they had already made their decision. They posted the announcement that same day. Pictures of my sister wrapped in soft white blankets, my mother holding her with tears in her eyes. My father standing beside her, proud and composed. And in the caption, they told the world they had lost one of their twins. They wrote about heartbreak, about grief, about how not every story has a happy ending. People flooded the comments with sympathy, with love, with support, their following grew overnight, their fame doubled, and I disappeared. By the time I could walk and talk, I was already hidden away. They kept me in the basement, it wasn't empty, they made sure of that. There was a bed, a small table, a few toys, just enough to keep me alive, not enough to make me feel like I belonged anywhere. The windows were small and placed too high for me to see out of. Most days I didn't even know what time it was. They hired a nanny to take care of me, but even she didn't know the truth. They told her I was just a child they had found, someone they were helping out of kindness. She came twice a day, sometimes 3 if she felt like it. She would bring food, check on me, make small conversation like she was doing a job she didn't question. I used to ask her about upstairs, about my parents, about the girl I sometimes heard laughing above me. She would just smile awkwardly and change the subject. Upstairs, my parents lived their perfect life. They went out often, always dressed perfectly, always smiling for cameras. My sister was always with them, dressed in matching outfits, her hair styled, her face already familiar to millions. People adored her. They called her beautiful, perfect, a mini version of them. They posted her constantly, birthdays, milestones, every little moment turned into something to be shared, something to be admired, and every time they posted her, they reminded the world of the child they had lost, me. They told that story over and over again, reshaping it, deepening it, making people feel it. And the more people believed it, the more invisible I became. Over the years, my mother would come to see me only once a year, the night before my birthday. She never came during the day, never when the house was busy or full of people. Always late, when everything upstairs had gone quiet. I would hear her heels on the steps before I saw her, slow and careful like she didn't want anyone to know she was there. She always brought a small piece of cake, not a full one, just a slice, neatly placed on a plate, like it was enough to make up for everything else. She would sit across from me, perfectly put together even at that hour, and watch me eat it. "I'm not cruel," she would say every single time, her voice soft but distant. "You have to understand that." I never said anything, I just listened. "You just don't fit in," she would continue, like she was explaining something simple, something obvious. This life, our image, it wouldn't work. People wouldn't understand. She said it like it wasn't her fault, like it was just the way things had to be. And when she left, she always looked a little lighter, like she had done something good. Like bringing me cake once a year made her a better person. When she was gone, the basement felt even colder. But I wasn't completely alone. Sarah made sure of that. She wasn't just a nanny to me. Over time, she became everything my parents weren't. She taught me how to read, how to write, how to think for myself. She brought me books, real ones, not the old, worn-out ones that had been left down there. She taught me math, science, history. She even taught me languages. By the time I was a teenager, I could speak 3 fluently. "You're too smart to be down here," she told me once, her voice tight with something she was trying to hold back. I believed her. I worked hard, not because anyone asked me to, but because it was the only thing that made me feel like I existed beyond those walls. By the time I was older, I was ahead of students I had never even met. Sarah stopped treating me like a job and started treating me like family. She stayed longer, talked more, laughed with me, she cared. Eventually she pushed for something more. "You can't keep her down here forever," I heard her argue one day upstairs, her voice firm in a way I had never heard before. "She deserves fresh air, she deserves to see the world." There was silence after that, then low voices, then more silence. It took time, a lot of convincing, but eventually they agreed, on one condition: I was never to be seen with my sister. The first time I stepped outside, it didn't feel real. The air felt too big, too open. The light hurt my eyes at first, and I had to blink just to adjust. Everything felt louder, brighter, alive in a way I wasn't used to. But even then, I wasn't free, not really. I was still hidden, just differently. My sister didn't know who I was. To her I was just the maid's kid, someone who happened to be around sometimes, someone unimportant. She was kind in a distant way. Casual, unaware. She would hand me clothes she didn't want anymore, barely looking at me twice like she was doing me a favor, and I would take them. She had my life, and she didn't even know it. My father was different, he didn't ignore me the way my mother did. Sometimes, when he saw me with Sarah, his eyes would linger just a second too long. There was something like guilt, maybe even pity. But he never said anything. Not a word. It was easier for him to stay silent. By the time I was 16, I understood everything. I had a phone by then, Sarah made sure of it. At night, I would scroll through social media, watching their lives unfold on a screen, perfect photos, perfect captions, perfect moments, my sister smiling, my parents glowing beside her, but I didn't feel angry, I didn't want revenge, I didn't want to expose them or ruin anything they had built. I just didn't want to be invisible anymore, I didn't want to live like this, and so I started thinking of getting out. I had always been slim, the kind of build people in magazines called effortless. I guess it ran in the family, but having the look didn't mean anything down there in the basement. I had no money, no connections, no way of turning it into something real. It felt like a dream that didn't belong to me. One night, I told Sarah. I expected her to smile politely, maybe change the subject, but she didn't. She looked at me seriously and said, "We would make it happen." From that moment, everything changed. We made a plan, not something rushed or reckless, but something careful, something that would actually work. She made me practice every single day, walking, posture, expressions. She would correct the smallest things. The tilt of my chin, the way I held my shoulders, how I looked when I turned. At first, it felt awkward, forced. But slowly, it became natural. She found ways to sneak me into modeling classes, always careful, always watching. I would sit quietly, blending in, learning everything I could. She brought me books on etiquette, on confidence, on how to carry myself in rooms I had never even been in before. At night, when everything was quiet, I would watch my mother's videos, interviews, runway clips, photo shoots. Not because I admired her, but because it helped me understand the world I was trying to step into. It gave me a strange kind of comfort, like I was learning a language I had always been meant to speak. And I got better, better than I ever thought I could be. By the time I turned 18, I wasn't the same person who had once been hidden away. That night, Sarah helped me leave, not dramatically, no running, no chaos. Just quiet steps, a bag packed in advance, and a final look at a place I knew I would never return to. My parents didn't come looking for me, they didn't call, didn't ask questions, didn't even pretend to care. If anything, they were relieved. Sarah made sure I was taken care of. She helped me get into college, into a modeling program, into spaces I never thought I would be allowed to enter. She supported me in every way she could, never asking for anything in return. She was the mom I always wanted. For the first time in my life, I was building something that was mine. I started working part-time at a local library. It wasn't glamorous, but I loved it. It was quiet, steady, real. And that's where I made my first friends. They didn't know my past. They didn't know anything about where I came from. To them, I was just me. They laughed with me, talked with me, included me. Sometimes they would compliment me in ways that felt unfamiliar but good. "You look like a model," one of them said once, half joking. Another time, one of them paused, studying my face a little longer than usual. "You kind of look like that influencer, what's her name, the one with the model parents." My heart skipped, but I just laughed it off. I wasn't going to let that part of my life follow me anymore. I was moving forward. By the time I turned 21, everything I had worked for started to come together. I signed my first modeling contract. It wasn't huge, not life-changing overnight, but it was real, it was mine. I created my own social media accounts, this time under my name, my identity. I started getting small interviews, small jobs, opportunities that kept growing bit by bit. I wasn't famous, but I was visible. I was doing what I wanted, building something for myself, getting better every day. For the first time in my life, I wasn't living in someone else's shadow. I was finally stepping into the light. Over time, my gigs got bigger. What started as small shoots turned into campaigns, then into something people actually recognized. My name started circulating, my face showing up in places I used to only see on a screen. I was finally able to afford a better life, not just for me, but for Sarah too. By then, I didn't call her Sarah anymore, I called her Mom. She didn't have to work anymore, I made sure of that. After everything she had done for me, it was the least I could give back. We moved into a place that felt like home, not something temporary, not something borrowed. Something real. I traveled constantly. Different cities, different countries, different sets. Everything I had once dreamed about while staring at a cracked ceiling became my reality. And the craziest part was how natural it started to feel. Before I even realized it, I had become something bigger than I ever planned. I wasn't just modeling anymore. I was the model. People talked about my look like it was something new, something refreshing. They said I didn't look like the typical industry standard, but that's exactly why I stood out. My features were called interesting, different, real. Models should look more like her, people would say. Still gorgeous, but real. And just like that, I became what people wanted. I never told anyone where I came from. I never told my story. I just worked, stayed focused, and gave back where I could. I donated, helped others, supported causes that mattered to me. I built a life that had nothing to do with the one I was born into. By the time I turned 23, I was the #1 model. And that's when everything caught up to me. People started noticing the resemblance. At first, it was small comments, then comparisons, then side-by-side photos, my face next to my sister's, my features next to my parents'. It didn't take long before they realized who I was. My birth parents tried reaching out almost immediately. Calls, messages, emails. All polite, all careful, all pretending like nothing had ever happened. They wanted to keep their image intact, but I wasn't interested, I ignored every single attempt. Then one day, they went on a podcast, I didn't even plan on watching it, someone sent it to me. At first, it sounded harmless. They talked about their careers, their lives, their perfect family. Then my name came up, and everything shifted. They smiled as they spoke about me, casually, like they had a right to. "She's actually a relative we helped raise," my mother said smoothly. They still didn't claim me as their daughter, my father nodded beside her. "We supported her a lot when she was younger. It's unfortunate she decided to distance herself from the family." They laughed lightly, like it was just a misunderstanding. Like I had simply chosen to walk away, like they hadn't buried me alive in their own story. Something in me snapped. For the first time, I didn't stay quiet, I told the truth, everything, the basement, the lies, the birthday visits, the fact that I had never died. The internet exploded. People who once admired them turned on them overnight. Their perfect image shattered piece by piece as the truth spread. Interviews resurfaced. Old posts were questioned. Every detail picked apart. And suddenly, the story they had built their fame on became the thing that destroyed it. Now they're begging, calling, messaging, apologizing. Saying they made a mistake, saying they regret everything, saying they want a relationship. But the truth is, they only want forgiveness now that the world knows who I am. And for the first time in my life, I have something they don't control. A choice. I took a break from social media, letting the world fade for a while. I spent that time with mom, and with friends who reminded me what it felt like to be normal, to be seen without judgment. I breathed, I laughed, I started therapy, trying to untangle the knots of everything I had been through and heal from years of being hidden away. A couple of weeks later, my twin sister reached out. She said she didn't know, that she wanted to meet me, that she was sorry for the way our parents had treated me. At first, I didn't want to meet her. Part of me was scared, part of me wasn't sure I could handle another disappointment. But my therapist suggested it might be good for me, so I agreed. We met at a small coffee shop, choosing a quiet corner in the back where no one would notice us. It was strange at first, awkward, filled with the weight of years apart. But slowly, it started to feel normal. We had twin things, little habits and quirks, and we even spoke at the same time sometimes. It was weird, but we laughed. I told her I had never hated her. And we talked, really talked. For the first time, it was just us, without our parents in the picture. We never mentioned them once. We agreed to try and speak more often, to get to know each other properly, and we did. When I returned to the spotlight, the world treated me like royalty. The press, the fans, even the brands, all of it recognized my talent. My story, my resilience. I made posts about forgiveness, about not holding hate in my heart, but I made it clear that I wanted nothing to do with my parents. My career skyrocketed even further. I tried to keep my life more private, cherishing moments away from the cameras. I started dating, having fun, living a life that was peaceful and joyful in ways I had never imagined as a child. Even though my upbringing had been rough, even cruel at times, it had shaped me into the person I am today, strong and capable of creating my own happiness, and for the first time, I felt truly free.